always knew the sickness ran deep in my family. I just never thought they'd infect her too. It started on a Saturday afternoon at my sister's house, bright sun, perfect lawn, laughter that sounded a little too loud to be real. I remember tightening my hands around the steering wheel before we got out of the car. Just be yourself, baby, I told her. You're already more than enough. She smiled, God, she smiled, wearing the simple pale yellow dress she'd saved months to buy. Babysitting. Cleaning houses. Dreaming. A silver bracelet dangled from her wrist, a tiny reminder that she earned every good thing she had. Her name was Mila and she was 14. 14 and still soft. Still hoping. We stepped into that backyard and I swear I could feel it, the weight of it, like walking into a room full of knives. Plastic chairs. Overfilled paper plates. The sharp stink of cheap beer and too sweet barbecue sauce. Everyone pretending. Everyone performing. And us? We were the audience. Or maybe the joke. My sister Brielle spotted us first. She had the look that always made me feel like a stray dog tracking mud into her castle. Sunglasses perched on her head, white linen dress immaculate, a drink in hand. There you are, she said, voice all syrup and teeth. She pulled me into a stiff, one-armed hug that smelled like wine and sunscreen. Then her eyes flicked to Mila and for a heartbeat, just a heartbeat, her smile cracked. She didn't see family standing there. She saw a target. Wow, Brielle said, turning the word into a blade. Look how much you've grown. Her gaze slid down Mila's dress to the bracelet to the homemade curls pinned behind her ear. Hey, sweetie, mind helping pass out some drinks? Kids these days, so lazy. Before either of us could answer, Brielle shoved a tray of sodas into Mila's hands and disappeared back into the crowd. I stood there heart pounding, watching my daughter wobble under the weight. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab that tray and throw it across the yard. But instead, I nodded. Pick your battles, I whispered to myself. Not yet. Not here. Mila gave a tiny nod back. And she waded into the crowd like a lamb into a slaughterhouse. It got worse fast. The joke started when she was handing a soda to cousin Caleb, something about, did you knit that dress yourself? Snickers spread like wildfire. Mila stiffened, blinking too fast, pretending not to hear. My hands curled into fists so tight my nails dug into my palms. I tried to move toward her, but my mother, Dolores, reached out and stopped me. She needs to toughen up, she said, voice flat as a dead fish. Toughen up? Toughen up against you? I jerked free from her touch and pushed across the yard, past the coolers and the smoking grill and the peeling picnic tables. Mila kept serving. Kept smiling. Kept dying a little with every fake laugh tossed at her back. When she reached my uncle's table, Uncle Vern, red-faced from beer, barely holding onto his chair, she stumbled trying to balance the tray. Someone snorted. Someone muttered clumsy, like her mother. I bit the inside of my cheek so hard I tasted blood. Not yet. Not yet. And then when I thought it couldn't get worse, it did. A low growl of an engine cut through the air. Every head turned. A black SUV, gleaming and out of place among the battered minivans in rusting pickups, rolled up the driveway. Doors locked. Conversations died. You could feel the electricity crackle through the air. The car stopped. The driver's door opened. And a woman stepped out. She wasn't like them. Tall. Sharp. Effortless. Dressed in clean lines and cool strength. She scanned the crowd once, ignoring the shocked faces, and then her gaze locked onto Mila. Not me. Not Brielle. Not Dolores. Just Mila. Without hesitation, the woman crossed the yard, heels clicking softly against the stone path. Like she'd walked into enemy territory armed only with certainty. Mila froze. Still clutching that stupid tray. Still trying to be good. The woman knelt down in front of her, so gentle, so deliberate it made the whole yard hold its breath. Princess, the woman said, her voice soft but unshakable. Are you ready for your surprise? The entire world seemed to tilt. Forks froze halfway to mouths. Plastic chairs squeaked. Someone dropped a plate. I watched Mila's lips part in confusion. Watched the hope flicker behind her eyes. Watched her try to figure out if she was allowed to believe. For a second, no one moved. And then Brielle, ever the queen of appearances, stormed across the yard, heels stabbing into the grass. Excuse me, she said, flashing her sharpest fake smile. Can I help you? The woman didn't even glance at her. She simply rose, slow and sure, and faced me. You must be Cassidy Monroe, she said. I'm Amara Sterling. I've been trying to reach you through Mila's school. Her name meant nothing to me yet. But the way the crowd leaned in. The way the oxygen seemed to thin around us. I knew one thing. Everything was about to change. I just didn't know yet who would survive it. I didn't know what scared me more. Amara's words. Or the way the entire backyard watched like we were about to put on a show. I cleared my throat, forcing my voice to stay steady. I'm Cassidy, I said. What's this about? Amara's smile softened just slightly. She turned to Mila, who still clutched the tray like a shield, and crouched again, so their eyes were level. You're the artist, right? Amara asked gently. The one who sent those sketches? Mila blinked, stunned. Sketches? The ones she doodled after babysitting? The ones she stuffed into her backpack because she thought they weren't good enough? She nodded barely. Amara straightened and turned to the crowd, not apologizing, not explaining, and said loud enough for everyone to hear. Your daughter has been selected for the Sterling Rising Creators Fellowship. Top 5 in the state. Summer mentorship. Full scholarship. Invitation only. The words hit the backyard like a bomb. Someone coughed. Someone muttered, no way. And Brielle, oh Brielle, let out a sharp, barking laugh. You've got to be kidding, she said. Mila? Sketches? She's just a kid. She's never even Amara cut her off with one look. Sharp. Clean. Surgical. Talent doesn't always wait for permission, she said. The tray slipped from Mila's hands and crashed to the ground. Soda cans rolled across the grass. Nobody moved to help her. I rushed to her side, dropping to my knees, my hands trembling as I brushed her hair back from her face. You did this, I whispered into her ear. Not them. You. She stared at me like she was still afraid it might all vanish. Like she was still waiting for the punchline. But it didn't come. Amara reached into her bag and pulled out a crisp envelope. Inside was a letter, official, beautiful, with Mila's name in bold across the top. There was a note handwritten at the bottom. Your voice is needed in this world. Keep creating. Mila clutched the envelope to her chest like it might float away if she let go. Amara smiled and said, the welcome dinner is tonight. We have a room reserved. The car's ready if you want to come. It should have been a moment of triumph. It should have been cheers, hugs, happy tears. But all I heard were the whispers. Brielle leaning into my mother muttering. Dolores sneering behind her paper plate. Uncle Vern scoffing under his breath. It was too fast. Too good. Too uncontrolled. They couldn't stand it, not when they hadn't given permission. Brielle planted herself between Amara and the car. I just think it's kinda rude, she said loudly. Showing up at a family event like this. I mean, we were having a nice day before all this. Amara didn't even blink. I was invited by her talent, she said coolly. And frankly, that's the only invitation I needed. Brielle's face turned a shade of red I hadn't seen since she lost prom queen in high school. We're leaving, I said, louder than I meant to. Mila flinched beside me. But I didn't care anymore. Get your bag, baby, I said. We're done here. Mila hesitated, glancing toward the picnic tables, the coolers, the half-eaten burgers. Mom, she whispered. What about Grandma? I felt something inside me snap. Family, I said, spitting the word like a curse, doesn't make you beg for scraps. Brielle threw up her hands. Oh, come on. Don't be dramatic, Cass. It's not like we hurt her. Not hurt her? They gutted her with 1,000 little cuts, smiling the whole time. You made her a waitress, I said. You mocked her clothes. You laughed at her dreams. The words cracked through the yard like a whip. Dolores finally stood up, fanning herself dramatically. You're so sensitive, she said. You always have been. Maybe if you weren't so desperate for attention, none of this would have happened. Mila shrank beside me. Like she was the one at fault. I stepped between her and Dolores, shielding her with my body like a human barricade. Go, I told her again. This isn't your home. It never was. Mila took a shaky breath and for the first time that afternoon she looked up. Not down. Not away. She nodded. She grabbed her backpack and walked toward Amara, who opened the SUV door with a reassuring smile. Mila paused at the edge of the yard. She turned back not to wave but to see them, truly see them. All the people who made her feel small. All the people who believed her light could be snuffed out if they just ignored it long enough. She didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just left. And I stood there, heart racing, hands shaking, knowing I had just declared war. Because it wasn't over. Not yet. The next day, Brielle would post a carefully curated photo online, a picture of the backyard, the fake smiles, the perfect plates of food. She'd caption it, Family First. So proud of our rising star. She'd rewrite the story to make herself the hero. And I would make sure she never controlled the ending again. I just didn't know yet how deep the rot really went. The house felt too quiet after Mila left. Like a bomb had gone off and now the silence was just smoke and ruin. I paced the living room, phone in hand, scrolling. I don't know why I did it, some sick reflex. And there it was. Brielle's post. A perfect photo of the backyard. Plastic chairs, smiling faces, a cooler full of soda cans. Mila had passed out like a servant. The caption so thick with fake sweetness it made my teeth ache. Family first. Always so proud of our talented girl. Red heart # blessed # family love # rising star. I sat down hard on the couch. Pride? Family love? They didn't see her. They used her. They always had. This wasn't just some mean comment at a barbecue. This was the disease metastasizing. Turning love into performance. Turning truth into a costume they could zip on and off. And Mila? She was just a prop they paraded when it made them look good. I threw my phone across the room. It hit the carpet and bounced harmlessly. I wished it had shattered. Because at least broken things are honest. The next few days passed in slow, grinding misery. Mila sent me photos from the fellowship. Her sketches pinned to a real studio wall. Her smiling beside designers whose names I couldn't even pronounce. Her wearing the same yellow dress Brielle had mocked. But now, somehow it looked like a battle flag. Every night we talked. Every night, her voice grew stronger. Steadier. Meanwhile, back here, the call started. First from Dolores. You're tearing the family apart, she said. Like I hadn't spent my whole life stitching up the pieces they tore. Then Uncle Vern chimed in, drunkenly slurring something about loyalty. Then Brielle. Leaving voicemails dripping with false concern. We're just worried about you, Cass. You've been acting unstable lately. We all want what's best for Mila. But maybe she's getting ideas above her station, you know? Above her station. Like there was a ceiling she was supposed to bang her head against forever. I didn't call back. I didn't explain. I didn't defend. Let them spin their stories. Let them choke on their own smoke. But inside the fury brewed. Because here's the thing about growing up inside a sick system. You learn how to survive it. You learn how to fake smile. How to nod at cruelty. How to keep your mouth shut when you're bleeding inside. But when you finally decide you're done, when you decide to rip the mask off, you don't just walk away. You burn it down. It came to a head at Dolores's birthday. The invitation was a group text. Passive-aggressive as usual. Hope everyone will be there. We forgive easily around here. Red heart. Forgive what exactly? Speaking the truth? Refusing to feed their fantasy? I wasn't going to go. God, I wasn't. But then I looked at Mila's latest photo. A picture of her standing in a crowd of artists, laughing, alive in a way I had never seen her before. And I knew. This wasn't just about me. It was about every kid who ever thought they had to shrink to fit someone else's idea of love. I texted back one word. Coming. I showed up an hour late. On purpose. Dolores's living room was packed. Plastic tablecloths. Finger sandwiches. Wine glasses clutched too tightly by women who hated themselves almost as much as they hated each other. Brielle spotted me first. She swooped in like a vulture dressed in silk. Well, look who decided to join us, she chirped. Voice just a little too loud. Smile just a little too wide. I ignored her. I walked straight into the middle of the room. Felt every eye land on me. Felt every whisper judgment buzzing like gnats. Dolores stood near the cake table wearing a crown from the dollar store. She raised her eyebrows when she saw me. You came, she said. You said family forgives, I replied. Someone snorted. Probably Vone. I cleared my throat. Raised my voice. I just wanted to say something real quick, I said. Lucky for me, this won't take long. The room tensed. Some of you think what happened at Brielle's party was just a misunderstanding, I said. Some harmless teasing. Some jokes I took too seriously. I scanned their faces. The fake concern, the simmering irritation, the desperate hope that I would just shut up and smile. But what happened was simple, I said, voice steady. You showed Mila exactly who you are. A hush fell. You showed her that love here is conditional. That respect here is rationed out based on who you think deserves it. That cruelty is just another dish at the barbecue, passed around and laughed over. Someone shifted uncomfortably. Brielle crossed her arms. You tried to make her small, I said. You tried to break her spirit in half because it didn't fit inside your cheap little boxes. My hand shook. I didn't care. But here's the part you missed, I said, my voice breaking just enough to sting. She left. She thrived. She's out there building a life so bright it'll blind you if you even try to look straight at it. Dolores scoffed, waving a hand. That's enough, Cassidy. No, I said. For once, you don't get to decide when enough is enough. I pulled my phone from my pocket, opened Mila's latest photo, her standing next to a woman who had designed gowns for the damn Met Gala, and held it up. Look at her, I said. Look at what you tried to stomp out. No one spoke. No one moved. They couldn't. I smiled slow and sharp. You don't get to claim her, I said. You don't get to rewrite her story. You don't get a seat at her table. I turned to leave. And that's when Brielle hissed under her breath, loud enough for me to catch it. You'll come crawling back. You always do. I paused at the door, looked over my shoulder, locked eyes with her, and I said it. Not this time. And then, I walked out, leaving their kingdom of ashes behind. But even then, even with the door slamming shut behind me, I didn't know. The real betrayal hadn't even started yet. I thought walking out would be the end of it. I thought I had finally cut the infection loose. But rot runs deeper than you expect. Seeps. It festers. It waits for the moment you feel safe. Then it pulls you back under. The first sign was a text from Mila's school counselor. Hey Cassidy, just wanted to confirm. Was it your daughter's mother who sent us those sketches? There's been some confusion. Confusion? I reread the text 3 times before it made sense. Then my hands went cold. I called immediately. No small talk. No pleasantries. What confusion? I demanded. The counselor's voice was careful, slow, like stepping through broken glass. Someone called the school, she said. Said the submission wasn't legitimate. Claimed Mila didn't do the work herself. That it was plagiarized. My heart slammed against my ribs. Who? I whispered. There was a long pause. I can't officially say, the counselor said. But the caller mentioned being a close family member. An aunt. I didn't need her to say it. Brielle. Of course it was Brielle. When humiliation didn't work, when erasure didn't work, she turned to sabotage. She couldn't stand that Mila had something she couldn't control. She would rather destroy it than admit she lost. I hung up without saying goodbye. I stared at the wall, my breathing shallow, my body vibrating with a rage so deep it made my teeth ache. I wanted to scream. I wanted to smash every glass in the house. But instead I grabbed my car keys. Because this time, there would be no polite conversation. No civil confrontation. This time I was going to finish it. Brielle lived in a house that looked like a magazine cover. All white walls and farmhouse sinks and ceramic pumpkins spelling blessed, even in the middle of spring. I pounded on her front door so hard it rattled in its frame. It swung open after a few seconds. She stood there in yoga pants and an oversized sweatshirt, coffee mug in hand. Fake surprise splattered across her face. Cassidy, she said, blinking. What a surprise. Save it, I said, pushing past her into the house. She trailed after me, still pretending. Is this about Dolores's party? She asked, voice all innocence. Because honestly, I think you overreacted. You know how emotional you can get. I turned slow and deliberate. You called Mila's school, I said. She froze for half a second, then covered it with a laugh. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me, I said, my voice shaking. Her smile sharpened. Maybe I made a few calls. Maybe I had some concerns about her getting special treatment when she's never had formal training. She sipped her coffee like we were talking about the weather. You're jealous, I said, the words tasting like blood in my mouth. You always have been. She snorted. Of what? She said. Your little charity project? Your awkward, mousy daughter drawing dresses no one will ever wear. The slap came so fast I barely realized my hand had moved. The sound cracked through the living room like a gunshot. Brielle's head snapped sideways. Her coffee mug shattered on the floor. For a second, neither of us moved. She touched her cheek, eyes wide. You hit me, she said, almost in awe. I didn't apologize. I didn't flinch. You went after a child, I said. You deserve worse. She recovered fast. You think you're better than us now, don't you? She sneered. Just because some rich lady put your kid in a stupid program? Not better, I said. Free. I turned to leave. But before I reached the door, she said it. The thing that tore the last piece of illusion away. You think Mila's the first one they broke? She called after me. You think you're the only one who ever mattered? I stopped cold. What are you talking about? I said without turning. She laughed, a raw, ugly sound. You were the first, she said. You just didn't realize it. I turned slowly. Brielle leaned against the counter, smiling like a cat after the kill. All those years, she said. All the times they made you feel small. Unworthy. Wrong. She tilted her head. You thought it was just bad luck. You thought if you tried harder, loved better, they'd let you in. My stomach churned. It wasn't an accident, she said, her voice low and gleeful. They chose you to be the scapegoat. They needed someone to dump it all on, someone to carry the weight so they could stay clean. I felt like I was falling. You were never meant to belong, Brielle said. You were their punching bag. Their cautionary tale. My hands were trembling. All those years. The guilt. The shame. The desperate clawing for approval. It wasn't a mistake. It was by design. You really thought Dolores loved you? Brielle said, smirking. She loved having someone to blame. The room tilted around me. My heart thudded in my ears. I saw it now. Every sharp comment. Every cold shoulder. Every time they twisted my victories into insults and my failures into entertainment. It wasn't dysfunction. It was strategy. You're lying, I whispered. But I knew she wasn't. I could feel it. Bone deep, marrow deep. The truth tasted like rust and ashes. Brielle's smile widened. Run along, Cassidy, she said. Go cling to your little art project. Just remember, she'll turn on you too someday. It's what kids do. I didn't answer. I just turned and walked out. But this time it wasn't to escape. It was to end it. Because once you realize the love you fought for was a loaded gun aimed at your heart, there's only one thing left to do. You aim higher. You fire back. You build your own damn family. And you make damn sure they know. They are dead to you. I didn't cry after I left Brielle's house. Not one tear. Instead I drove. Nowhere in particular, just away. Away from the lies, the rot, the disease that had been gnawing at me since before I knew how to spell my own name. I drove until the sun bled out behind the hills, until the sky turned black and the stars looked like holes punched through the world. And somewhere on that long, dark road, I made a decision. We weren't going back. Not ever. No more explaining. No more defending. No more bleeding for people who would drink it like wine and ask for more. Mila and I were going to build a new life. One they couldn't touch. One they'd have to watch from a distance, choking on their own regret. They wanted us small. They wanted us obedient. They wanted us broken. Instead, we'd make sure they saw us rise. And knew, deep down, they had no part in it. I started the next morning. First, I blocked every number. Every email. Every social media account. Gone. Cut like a tumor. Then I called Mila's school counselor. Explained everything calmly, factually, without the wild edge of emotion they would use against me if I slipped. The school launched an investigation. They contacted the Sterling program directly. Verified every sketch, every signature, every timestamp. Within 48 hours, Mila's spot was not only secure, it was celebrated. The head of the program personally called me. I want you to know, she said, voice warm and firm, that we believe in your daughter. Completely. Mila would be featured in a national youth arts exhibit at the end of the summer. She'd be meeting with design mentors who didn't just tolerate her dreams, they fought to amplify them. I hung up the phone and sat at the kitchen table staring at nothing. It was over. Not the grief. Not the hurt. But the illusion. The desperate, gasping hunger for love from people who only ever sharpened their knives on our backs. I wasn't starving anymore. I was done. 3 weeks later, we moved. Nothing fancy, a small apartment across town. Faded hardwood floors. Big windows that caught the afternoon sun. A blank slate. Mila painted her bedroom walls pale blue. She hung her sketches everywhere, unframed, raw, exactly how she liked them. At night, we ate on the floor, picnic style, laughing until our stomachs hurt over dumb movies and burnt popcorn. It wasn't perfect. But it was real. And real felt like breathing after a lifetime underwater. I didn't tell Mila everything about Brielle's betrayal. Not right away. She was still too raw. Still healing. But one evening while we were organizing her sketchbooks, she asked, "Do you think they'll ever change?" I thought about it for a long moment. "I don't know," I said. "And it doesn't matter." She nodded, more to herself than to me. "I used to think if I worked hard enough," she said quietly, "they'd see me." I put a hand over hers. "You were never invisible," I said. "They just refused to open their eyes." She smiled, small, tired, but genuine. "Not my problem anymore," she said. And just like that, she let them go. No screaming. No fighting. Just release. And it was the most powerful revenge of all. The family tried to slither back in, of course. Dolores sent a text around Thanksgiving. "Hope we can move past the drama. Life's too short for grudges." Red heart. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just a demand for quiet, comfortable amnesia. I left it on read. Mila got a friend request from Brielle on her birthday. She didn't even hesitate before hitting decline. That was our tradition now. Silent goodbyes. No arguments. No explanations. You don't owe closure to the people who slammed the door on your heart and laughed when you cried. You just walk away. Head high, eyes forward. And let them choke on the dust you leave behind. Mila's showcase was 3 months later. She stood in a real gallery, under real lights, surrounded by people who spoke her language, color and texture, and imagination made flesh. Her piece was a dress. Layers of soft yellow silk. Stitched with silver thread. The colors of hope. Of survival. Of the day she stood in a backyard full of vipers and decided she was more than their venom. When the spotlight hit it, the whole room went quiet. You could feel it. The power of it. The undeniable truth. She was never small. They were just blind. Afterward, reporters asked for interviews. Designers offered business cards. One woman pulled me aside and said, "You should be proud." I am, I said. I always was. Even when the world tried to tear her down. Even when family tried to write her off. Especially then. It's been almost a year now. Sometimes people ask about the family we left behind. I tell them the truth. We didn't lose a family. We lost a battlefield. We buried them without a funeral. Without a speech. Without a tear. And every day we live, every breath we take in peace, every dream Mila stitches into reality. It's another nail in the coffin of the people who tried to break us. They thought they could clip her wings. They forgot she wasn't born to perch on their dying branches. She was made to soar. And me? I was made to stand beneath her. Hands lifted high. Shielding her from every stone thrown by people too bitter to fly. So here's the final truth for anyone who needs it. When blood betrays you, you build your own family. When they lie about you, you let your life become your proof. When they try to bury you, you become the root system they can never tear out. We didn't just survive them. We made sure they had to watch us thrive. And they'll never be part of our story again. Not even as a footnote.